Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to look at two libraries in Python that, especially the first one that I have not talked about in previous videos. So the first one is to work with HTTP requests, like you want to get a file from a website or you want to post something to that or update some data or delete something. That library is called requests. And then there is a secondary library for dealing with images. Now, it's not as powerful as OpenCV or something, but it can do some basic image processing thing that is called Pill or Pillow in general. Okay, so the name of it is actually Pillow library. Now, to show you a demo of it, here I have this URL, right? And then I have this file name, the picture, and I've written this custom function called download file, which goes to the URL and with the file name, and it downloads it with request.get, which is one of the functions of this library. And then with the image.open and image.show from the Pillow library, I can show you the image. I open it in Microsoft Paint and show it to you. So just before I go through this code here, I want to show you some of the commands that are available in these libraries. So for request, the first one is called request.get, which basically downloads or retrieve data from a URL. Then we have request.post, which is going to submit a data or post it to a website. We have request.put, which modifies the data, and request.delete that deletes some data from a URL. For Pillow, there is image.open, which opens it. Now, when it opens it, it doesn't open it in a separate window and show it like OpenCV does, or you do it with OpenCV and Matplotlib or anything. Here, it typically opens it by the default picture browser of your computer. Okay, so I can add something here for you. It says opens the picture in the default picture browser. Okay, and in my case, it's Paint. So it is going to open it in Paint. Then you can do image.show. So once you get that file, image is image.open, right? And image is what the portion that you import from the Pill library, because Pill has lots of different things. Image is the one most commonly used. So once you say image.open and assign it to the variable image, now you can do image.show, you can do image.save, you can do image.resize, right? You can do image.rotate, image.crop, image.convert. And if you pass to it a parameter like L, it's going to convert it to grayscale, and there are other parameters to convert it to other color spaces. You can do filter it, and you can do here image filter.blur. But before that, you have to first import the image filter also from the Pill. So once you import the image filter from that, now you can do image filter.blur, and you can do a image blur here, right? Or let's say if you want to create a new image with the specific dimensions, you can do image.new. Now this image, of course, right? This class basically, not, or this object, not basically the variable image. And if you also import image draw and image font, then you can write something on it or draw some shapes or something on it. So you say image draw an image, okay, and then draw text, hello world at location X and Y and fill with black. So here I'm writing something, but I can also draw some shape or something on it too. Okay, so there are lots of things that you can do with Image Pillow, but since we have done most of these things with OpenCV, I don't want to take a lot of your time. If you want to know how to do them in OpenCV, go and look at my computer vision image processing playlist, and I have done almost anything you can imagine with OpenCV there. So here I just wanted to tell you there is this secondary library and there is this request. If you wanted, you could have done it with OpenCV here too. So look, first we define this function, download file. The inputs are URL and local file name. The first thing I do is I get the URL and I get the stream from that. I said with request get of URL and stream through, so get the data from that as response. So I define it as response. Now this response has lots of data. This is a structure that has lots and lots of field and lots of data. And here in the next part, I'm going to show you only the headers portion of that response. And you're going to see that even the headers of that response that you get from that URL is pretty big. So now calling that data as response, now first I check if the request was successful. Does the URL even allow me to download the file? So there is this method on it called raise for status with no input arguments. Okay, so this one will show you whether the request was successful or not. So here I have added some comments for you. So the use of this we with and then the request get as response is not, of course, it gets and assigns that file that it downloads to this variable response, but with as is used for what we call context management. What is that? So when you're connecting to that website, whether you could get the data or not, it makes sure that that connection is properly released, or in this case, closed. Okay, so you don't want to leave that connection to that website open if you get or you didn't get the data. You want to close it. So this with as does that job for you. And as I said, this raise for status checks whether the connection was successful. If it was successful, nothing happens. If this connection was not successful and the request was not successful, you couldn't get the data, then it is going to raise what? An exception, or in this case, an error for you. Okay, so it is going to raise an error for you and will not let the code move forward. Well, yeah, let me call it that exception. Maybe it's better. I don't want to use error back to back. So here I get that, and then I'm going to show you only the header part of it. Now, why? Because here, the next thing I do is I check whether the content that I got is an image. Why should I check it? Because I want to show it. If it's an Excel file, I cannot use the command image open and image show on it. So first I check whether that file is an image. How do I do that? I go into the headers of that response, and that header, there is one portion of it called content type. And I say go to the response.headers.get, get the content type. If image is in there, right? If there is image in the content type, you know that's an image. Now, what would you do? Now, go ahead and open that local file, the name that I provided here, open it. And then what? We are going to write it to the local disk. So here, I open that file for writing and for writing it as a binary file. So I say open it, WB means write binary. So you see the way that I write the file is write it as binary, and I open it for writing. And then what? Once I open that file, I can write it. How do I write it? I use the file write command. Okay. So I open that file I downloaded as file. So now I can use file.write, and I have to do it chunk by chunk. So I say for chunk in response iteration content, chunk size this number, go ahead and what? Go ahead and write the file. So this for loop is going to write chunk by chunk of the file it downloaded to the local folder, and then shows that, hey, I downloaded the folder. So here you see that if I go to my local folder, that image is written to the local folder under downloads. Okay. And finally, when that file is written, I'm going to say, okay, now image open. This image is the part that you got from the Pillow library. That is an object that has a bunch of different methods. So here we say image.open, right? So from this image part, go ahead and use the open method with the local file name, call it variable image. Now you can pass the show. You can use the show method under class image, and that is going to show the variable, and then say, hey, if that was successful. This is if the image was in the response, you could get it, you can write it to the file and show it. Else, if the image was not in the header, like it was an Excel file or anything you could not open and show, then just say, hey, the URL does not point to an image file, okay, because you didn't have an image file. So this is the entire code, which might look a little bit intimidating with all of these details, if, with, right, for something in dot iteration content and so on. But basically this is line by line explanation of what is going on here. So I just added a little bit more comments for you here. So first you might say this 8192, what unit is that? Is it bits or bytes? The answer is it is bytes. The next question that, I mean, if I was a student, I would ask is, why this number out of all numbers, 8192? Where did you get it? Is that your favorite number? The answer is, it's about 8 kilobytes. And this 8 kilobytes is actually a very common buffer size that provides balance between memory efficiency and performance. If I make it much smaller, like 1 kilobyte or smaller, then I have to do it a bunch of times, so I'm gonna get a slow process. If I make it too large, then it is using a lot of memory, especially if the file is a big file. So this 8 kilobyte, this number is not really very weird, it's 8 kilobytes. You remember that a kilobyte is not 1000 bytes, it's 1024 bytes, 2 to the 10. So this is 8 times 1024, which is 8192. So that is 8 kilobytes. It's not just a weird number, and it is a balance between speed and performance and memory usage. So now with everything in here, I'm going to run it for you. So here we go. That is the header of the file, and you see it says the file is downloaded, and then it opens it in my default picture browser, which is Paint, and it is going to show it in Paint, right? Now, if I wanted to, I could have modified it with other functions of Pillow or anything else. Of course, Wikipedia is not going to allow me to delete a file or post something on it or so. So all I could do was to download it. But with Pillow, I can do all sorts of things. But again, remember that it is not going to show it in a figure or in a subplot or anything. It is going to open it with your default browser. If you want to use other browsers, you could have used other browsers here. But let me show you. So here, look, these are all of the data just in the response header, right? You see there are lots and lots of data. Like, when is it that you got it? You see it's Wednesday, March 12th. It shows you the time, it shows you all sorts of things with server, and this is the part that I talked about. That under content type, you see it says image and the format is JPEG. Okay, so because it is image, that if is gonna work and you're gonna get the file. Now, if it was an Excel file, of course, the else part in your code is gonna work and it's just gonna show, hey, it doesn't point to an image file. So hopefully you learned something useful today with these two new libraries, Request and Pillow, especially Request. And I'm gonna give you a download link under video description for you to play with this. And if you want to use another app other than your default image browser, then you have to use what we call SOP process. Okay, but I don't want to talk about that in this video, but remember that there is this command SOP process that you can use, and that allows you to pick another app instead of your default browser here, which is happening with this image open. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video.